I feel as though the FIFA community has been screaming for a competitor for years now, probably for at least a decade since PES or eFootball has fallen off a cliff, and finally there's another alternative, UFL. Now, is it the most polished game to ever come out? No, not really. Is it going to tank EA's sales and take over the video game football scene? I really doubt it, but is it something worth trying and putting a little bit of time into? UFL is the new free-to-play football game on the market that's trying to wiggle its way into the houses of football fans everywhere because FC 25, most notably Ultimate Team, is ruining people's mental health.
I get paid to play video games and I'm doing Kawhi Leonard load f***ing management.
There's no manager mode in UFL, there's no player career, there's no pro clubs, it's just play now and their version of Ultimate Team, which is my club. Now this is a pretty cut and dry video game with basically no game modes besides the competitive ranked matches associated with my club. But if that's what you're into, then who am I to take that away? Especially when some of the features in my club are infinitely better than some of the things that you can find in FC 25. One of them is this upgrading system that allows cards to become better and better the more you play with them, which, believe it or not, is actually something that's very common in other video games, so much so that it's probably more rare for a game to not have that feature, which makes sense for FC 25 as it's made by these guys. I mean, hell, even the bench players get XP, even when they don't play. Imagine getting rewards just by playing the game, no matter the result. Now granted, it does take a while for players to get upgraded stats and attributes, especially when they get higher overalls. But this is something that could easily be adjusted, so it's a good feature nonetheless. Now there's also an open market for cards and players that you can buy rather than gamble SBCs or ripping open random packs hoping to get something good. Although users can spend money on getting skins which can make a player slightly better, so it's not as if Strikers Inc. is that much morally superior. Now the one upside to these microtransactions is that if you do spend money on them to go after a player, you'll know exactly how much you need for that specific player, meaning you won't feel ripped off afterwards. At least you would know how much to spend if the game didn't have the stupidest in-game currency I have ever seen in my life.
Why are there 5 different types of currency? Who is that for?
So you got credits, which can help you buy players off the market and get some cosmetic stuff. You got reputation, which also buys you players and can be taken away from you, I guess, but you have to use credits and reputation together to get players, otherwise you might as well just jump off a bridge. You got showdown tokens for showdown events, that at least makes sense. You have league points, which give you skins that can slightly increase a player's stats, and you got star points for the season pass. I swear to God there aren't this many Oreo varieties. Now the credits and the reputation are the two most important types of currency because these are the only ones that actually allow you to get players. But the problem is you need an ungodly amount of these two types of currency because you only get about a nickel and a handful of beans after each game. Oh man, what a hard-fought game. 3-3? What a great match. And I got a lot of player stats upgraded. That's fantastic. How many credits am I gonna... Okay, well, me, I guess. At the moment, Bellingham costs 251 million credits. You get about 550,000 credits per match, maybe a little more with some boosts from the season pass. So just to afford Bellingham, you need to play 456 matches. But you know what? That's the most expensive card in the game, right? Of course it's gonna be tough to get him. I get that. What about a squad of, I don't know, 81 overalls? I mean, there's some decent players in here, right? De Ligt, Ake, Cunha, definitely playable. Now these guys go for about 50 million credits, so a full squad of these 81 overalls would be about 550 million. So just to get a squad of halfway decent cards, not even superstars, you need to play about 1,000 matches. 1,000 matches will let you play with Thomas Souček. Now what I will say is that even though these credits can be bought with real money, which is ironic considering that it's fair to play, this gets evened out with the whole reputation currency. So even if you can buy billions of credits, you will need to play matches for reputation. And something else is that how many credits players will be worth, or how many credits one can earn on a regular basis, can be changed pretty easily. And given that UFL seems pretty concerned about listening and responding to player feedback, it's not something that I'm too worried about. So you got a few cool features that aren't found in FC 25, as well as a lack of predatory gambling practices, but beyond that there's not too many features, which means the game will heavily rely on its gameplay, something I really respect because the gameplay will always be the most important part. But it's a good thing that it costs about $0 because it's not that great. Now I get that this is UFL's first year on the market, and obviously changes can come, and I get that. But some of the initial choices do not make sense to me. I don't know what it is with sports games nowadays, especially when it comes to football games, but everything is just so slow. I mean, for God's sake, you got people out here making FC 25 look like Sonic. Me. Look at this gameplay during FIFA 14. The attacker is able to bring the through ball down, immediately get it under control, and just start sprinting. None of this animation stuff where they take 5 years to take a touch, another 5 years to control it, then another 5 years to start sprinting. They just go. Keep in mind, this isn't some god tier player. This is Valbuena taking a touch, a card with above average dribbling. So how does this compare to the players in UFL? Yes, FC 25 does this too, but again, I'm asking, why do all of these developers think that this is a fun and good idea? And again, I know what you're thinking, oh, what if the player's ability and stats play a role in this? Well, it is true that starting out, you start with a team that only a mother can love, and it does affect some of the players in a certain case, but I tried some play now with some better players to see if that was, in fact, the only thing affecting it. You want to know how that went? This team had a bunch of players 81 overall or higher, the same players I talked about before that would take 1,000 matches to earn. And I want to make it clear, the connection was not the issue here. In fact, UFL had a clean connection where I was getting consistent gameplay pretty much 99 to 100% of the time. There's a difference between a game that's just inherently slow like UFL and a game that has inconsistent gameplay like FC 25. However, when the game speed is so slow that my own inputs are being delayed because the players have to go through their own animation, you might as well have input delay. Now, while the speed of the game is definitely my biggest problem, there are a few other smaller issues as well. For example, there can be an element of randomness in the game that I wish was taken out, like my opponent not being able to make this simple 1v1, but me being able to hit this volley from a tight angle. Through balls can be a bit odd as well because sometimes they are picture perfect gorgeous and I absolutely love it, while other times it makes me die inside. I have full power for my pass, why does it not go to the left winger here? On the other hand, people can do plays like this and it's just oh my god. Look, UFL has some genuine potential, alright? It's clear that we are all crying out for a better football game, and this company really wants to give it to us. There's some features that UFL has that are not in FC 25. There's not a pay-to-win component or a gambling aspect, which is genuinely fantastic, but for me, the gameplay is just too slow to be enjoyable unless they adjust it, which they definitely still can, since it's still in its first year of being out. Along with that, some people just genuinely enjoy slower gameplay, and if that is you, this might be something worth trying out, especially because the game is entirely free. Holy shit, you get a win if someone quits while it's tied. Never mind, best game around actually. Last thing, this game has Greta Van Fleet music, which is great, but then it has Astronaut in the Ocean. Sort it out, strikers. Spend less time on your bowling alley side hustle.